are a lot of different aspects to etiquette, and I guess the stereotype I will break now is no elbows at the table. You can put your elbows at a table at certain times.
Made me put my elbows.
You can place your elbows at a table when you are at a friendly dinner with in an informal setting with your friends.
Like at a burger joint.
Like a burger place, an informal cafe, you're out with your friends, you can have your elbows at a table. It's not a big deal. You can also have your elbows at a table once the main course has been served and removed and it's a dessert time. So there's no...
So elbows can go on table during dessert.
So yeah, I mean, you can sit like that if you're out with your friends. You can sit like that when there is no food at this table served. So everything is removed. Now you have your coffee and tea and you're just having a chat. You may also, if you're a woman, you may also, like I guess in this social grace, when there's a social etiquette, women can have their elbows at a table for longer time than men to expose their rings and show off their bracelets. So that's part of social grace. But yeah, I would say like no elbows at the table was for formal dining experience, especially when the food was at the table. It was rude towards the food. It's like you wouldn't put your feet up on the table, right, when you're eating a formal meal. So there's that. In regards to etiquette, there is a way of greeting people, the order of greeting people, or I think the biggest thing that I see people do and that's wrong is when a man and a woman first meet each other, a man feels the urge to extend their hand for a handshake because they think they have to greet a woman with a handshake and they shouldn't, because it's the woman that gets to decide if she wants to handshake a man or not.
I've made that mistake too many times.
I know, that's why I said it's one of the most common mistakes, and it's not pertinent to a particular region. I would say it's across the world. Every man that I've met felt the urge to extend their hand for a handshake first without waiting for me to initiate that. I think it almost makes them feel more empowered, as if, if I'm to extend the hand for... Men should greet women first. If they see them out and about on the street, it's the man that has to greet the woman, acknowledge the woman, and then it's the woman who gets to decide if she wants to extend hand for a handshake. Though, if this is a business etiquette, the gender doesn't matter. It's our position in the company. Say, you're a higher management and I'm a lower management, then I'll wait for you to extend your hand for a handshake because you are at a higher position than I am. What I was saying earlier is about social etiquette. So that's when we're not dealing outside of business. Say we're out and about meeting at a family dinner or a friend's birthday party.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. With regards to going back to the table setting, napkins should never be tucked in? Should
Never.
Always be on lap?
No, never. This is the biggest thing I see a lot happening at hotels in the morning for breakfast or business lunch, and men think they have to tuck the napkin like a bib over their shirt. No. This signals to a person who is just watching you from the side is that you haven't mastered your table manners well enough to know how to handle your food and cutlery, so you don't need extra protection like a baby with a bib, over the front.
It's like the worst thing you can see.
It's the worst thing you could do. So it's better to have an extra shirt in your car just in case, rather than have a napkin over your shirt.
Has it ever occurred to you, Jamila, to prompt someone who's doing something incorrectly in your party or somewhere else? Like if you saw the most cringiest thing ever.
No.
You would never say, sorry, listen, I have a YouTube channel. No, I'm kidding. No, sorry, can I just point out something? It'll never occur to you to fix.
First, it's bad manners to correct someone about something if I'm not instructing. I think a lot of people, when they meet me and know that I'm doing etiquette, they're like immediately frightened to do anything at a table with me. And I always say, relax. Right now, right here, I'm Jamila. I'm not an etiquette instructor. This is not my classroom. If you invite me to do a class, I will teach you and scold you and tell you how to do things. But when I'm out and about and I'm just another person, I will never comment on anything that you do. And I'll make it look like I didn't even notice it. Because the best part of being well-mannered is not noticing things that people do bad. I think a lot of people always they think that if I know how to do well, it's my duty to tell others how to do it. And
I've seen that too many times. Whenever they tell me,
don't you get angry when people don't follow etiquette and you're the only one following? I always say, I do what I think is right for me. I'm representing myself, and the person is doing what they know best, I cannot enforce them to do something they don't want to learn more about. And so for me, the best thing is not to give advice unless I'm asked to.
What pulled you into all of this? I mean, you clearly, I would imagine this is not something that you were into all of your life. Was there a history of maybe lack of etiquette? Did you feel that you ever didn't have it, so that you did a complete reversal? Where did all this come from?
No, I was blessed enough to have traveled and been cultured enough to have been exposed to etiquette from young age on. So knowing about different cultures, about different traditions, about different etiquette in every country. So I found it, I think, mostly in the US, where I would see people do things different. And back then I was ignorant to the American way of living. And so I would get surprised at things that they would do at the table. Later on, like the way Americans eat is very different from the way Westerners eat or Europeans eat. And so I would find it distressing over the amount of maneuvers they would do at a table trying to eat something as simple as a salad. And so for me, it was, why do they do this different? And then that curiosity obviously sparked the interest in understanding how Americans eat and how Europeans eat. And I think it also was just being curious about why things are different based on every culture. I think there was a passion for it. I think there was an interest for it. But I also think the reason I decided that I would be teaching it is because I know a lot of people would do so much better if they knew how to do better. But again, I would not be enforcing my education or my knowledge upon them unless they requested me to. So in a way, doing a YouTube was a way to educate to those that were searching for it and not enforcing it or pushing the agenda that, you all have to be cultured. That's the dream, obviously. I want to help a lot of people to be able to know how to best represent themselves. And actually, a big part of my audience is from the US. 20% of my audience is from America. And I think it's probably speaking to the fact that they are looking for something like that. Maybe they weren't exposed to the way, to good table manners growing up. Maybe they didn't have the means to learn that. So my channel is just helping young, regular girls and guys in Texas, Alabama, Arizona to learn how to properly behave at the table or how to take better care of themselves.
It's an interesting point when etiquette crosses across cultures and countries. Like in Saudi and the Arab world, it's common to eat with your hands when you are consuming a traditional dish. In Japan, it is absolutely not okay to tip. In the US, I once forgot to add a tip, and the waitress ran around the block to ask me if the pen was working. And I get that because her salary stems from from tips. So it's important to be mindful of what works where, and I think also tolerance, because something is not okay in my country and it's okay in yours. I think we need to be mindful. And again, going back to traveling, it allows us to be more understanding of different cultures, which I think is
absolutely
something that we lack.
I think traveling definitely does, but I also have to always acknowledge the fact that not everyone is privileged enough to travel. Not everyone has the means, but thankfully we live in a world where everyone pretty much has like laptops or computers. They have access to online information. All you need is to have curiosity about the other part of the world, and you have all kinds of movies and books on traveling the world. You can travel the world from the realm of your own home,
literally.
And I think travel definitely broadens your understanding about other cultures, and to what we talked earlier about with you about like cultural egocentrism is when you think you know only the way that something is done, everything else is wrong. And so when you told me, we need manners at the table, fork and knife, we eat with our hands. And I said, Mo, we also eat with our hands. In Azerbaijan, we have barbecue, we have rice. Back in the days, we used to eat rice with hands as well. Now we switched to a spoon, but we still eat barbecue with our hands. So you won't find me eating a barbecue with fork and knife unless I'm at the wedding, which is a formal event.
Interesting.
So every culture, and what you said about not tipping in Japan and tipping in US is a must. The difference is not because one is fishing for money and another is not. It's because in Japan they consider their job as something they have to do, and you don't have to extra give them something. It is almost in a way insulting to them to tip them because they know they can do the job so well that they don't need your money to kind of promote them to do it well. In the US, the salary, for the working class is so low that tips are there to help them to make means to an end by the end of the weekend. And so that is why the tip is mandatory. There's a difference in laws and regulations that also influences the etiquette. So you see how it's not just dependent on culture, or it's not just dependent on religion or tradition. It's also dependent on the laws of the country that influence the way things are done.